All right, so we're prepping for a court enforcement officer interview, which is a pretty impactful job, wouldn't you say? We're going deep into RoleCatcher's resources, so that's their career guide, their interview guide, and we'll even talk about how their AI can give you a real edge in the process. You ready to learn about how to make sure the court's decisions actually happen?
Absolutely. It's not just about that gavel coming down. It's about making those rulings a reality out there in the world.
Okay, so first let's get a feel for the RoleCat. RoleCatcher's career guide says that it's way more than serving warrants. You're also thinking about debt recovery, asset seizure, even running auctions.
Mhm.
So what are the parts of that that really jump out at you? Now, interviewers love to ask, what motivates you?
That's a great point. Having a solid answer that really reflects how you genuinely connect to those specific aspects of the job will definitely make you stand out.
Now, what if they throw a curveball at you? Something like, how would you handle a defendant refusing to comply with a court order? RoleCatcher preps us for this kind of scenario. It's about showing you can be both firm and diplomatic at the same time.
Yeah, it's a crucial balance. You need to demonstrate your understanding of legal procedures and de-escalation techniques. I mean, you can't just barge in there. You've got to start by really making sure that the defendant understands the seriousness of the situation, reiterating the court order and its consequences. And then you emphasize your commitment to clear communication and de-escalation.
That makes sense. So what if things get heated?
Well, that's where you highlight your training and protocols. Explain that you'd prioritize safety and follow the established procedures for requesting backup if necessary. Interviewers want to see that you can handle the pressure of those situations while staying professional.
Okay, so you nailed the tough situation question. Now let's change gears a little. What motivated you to pursue this career? Seems simple, but RoleCatcher emphasizes that you need to go deeper than just wanting to uphold the law.
Right, they're looking for that spark, that personal connection that sets you apart. Did some specific experience inspire you? Are you drawn to the investigative aspect? Or maybe it's the satisfaction of bringing resolution to these complex situations. Think about what really resonates with you.
So much better than a generic answer. Now, RoleCatcher's AI can actually help you tailor these responses for each specific job, which is amazing.
It really is. Their platform can analyze those long job descriptions, pulling out keywords and skills, and then it scores your CV and even provides AI feedback on your interview answers to see how well you're hitting those key points that the AI found. It's like having a personal coach fine-tuning your approach for every single application.
Okay, back to the hot seat. Have you ever had to deal with a resistant individual in a professional setting? So they're looking for real-life experience here.
Definitely. And you should think of a time you successfully navigated a challenging interpersonal situation. That could be a difficult client or even a conflict that happened within a team project. Then just focus on the steps you took to resolve it peacefully and what you learned from the experience.
Show them you've got the skills. All right, here's a question that seems to trip people up. How do you stay up to date with changes in the legal system? It's tempting to just say reading legal publications, but RoleCatcher suggests showcasing your proactive side.
Yeah, exactly. Think about specific legal journals or professional organizations or even those online forums where you can engage in discussions about law. Are there specific areas of law that you're passionate about? Maybe you attend workshops or conferences. The key is to show that you have a genuine commitment to continuous learning in this field.
That's a great way to show you're really invested in your growth.
Speaking?
Speaking of growth, RoleCatcher's career guide maps out a path from being a trainee to chief court enforcement officer. You can really see how this career can evolve over time.
It's really insightful, right? It highlights how experience shapes your responsibilities. So starting as a trainee, you're assisting those senior officers learning the ropes of seizing goods and understanding the legal processes involved. Then as a full court enforcement officer, you take on those tasks independently. You're
Nice.
conducting your own investigations and even managing auctions.
It sounds like building a solid foundation is key.
Absolutely. And then as you progress to senior court enforcement officer, you'll be leading teams, mentoring those junior officers, and even collaborating with other agencies. It's becoming more about strategic planning and leadership. And ultimately, at the chief level, you're overseeing that whole department. You're shaping policies and making high-level decisions for everyone.
Wow, so from hands-on to big picture leadership.
It's a journey, and the guide emphasizes how those early experiences really build the skills needed to lead effectively down the line.
Okay, so let's get back to those interview scenarios. Imagine they ask, can you describe a time you had to make a difficult decision in your work? What they're really trying to figure out is about your judgment and decision-making skills.
For sure. Pick a situation where you had to weigh different factors and maybe even conflicting priorities, and just explain your thought process clearly. Did you gather information? Did you consult with others? And importantly, what was the outcome and what did you learn from it? This shows them you can handle those tough calls.
Great advice. Okay, now this one's a bit more personal. What are some of your greatest strengths and weaknesses? Everyone hates the weakness part, but RoleCatcher suggests framing it as an area for growth.
Totally. Honesty is key here. You should choose a weakness that's genuine, but also something you're actively working to improve. Like maybe you're a bit too detail-oriented, and that can sometimes slow you down. But then you spin it positively. I am learning to delegate more effectively and prioritize tasks to manage my time better. See? Weakness turned into a positive. So clever. All right, time for another tough one. Tell me about a time you had to deal with a stressful situation at work. Court enforcement officers face pressure, so they want to know you can handle it.
This is where you showcase your coping mechanisms. Do you prioritize tasks, take breaks when needed? Do you have strategies for staying calm and focused? Maybe you rely on clear communication with your team. The key is to show you have a plan for managing stress without compromising your professionalism.
Yeah.
It's all about showing that you're resilient. All right, shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about teamwork. Can you explain your approach to working in a team environment? It's a classic question, and RoleCatcher really emphasizes how important collaboration is in this role.
Yeah, definitely. Especially in those high-pressure situations. They need to know that you can really function well as part of a unit. Right, so go beyond just saying, I'm a team player. Think of some concrete examples from your past, like projects you've worked on, past work experiences, even volunteer roles. Did you communicate effectively? Did you share ideas openly? How did you contribute to achieving that shared goal? Highlight your strengths within the team dynamic.
So much better than just giving vague statements.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say they ask, how would you handle a situation where a colleague wasn't pulling their weight? This one's about showing you can address conflict in a constructive way.
It's a great way to showcase those interpersonal skills. Start by really emphasizing open communication. You could explain that you'd first try to understand the situation. Maybe there's a reason why they're not performing as well as they should. Then you might suggest offering support or resources. Highlight your ability to provide constructive feedback and work towards a solution together as a team.
So it's all about finding that balance between addressing the issue and making sure you're maintaining those positive team dynamics.
Exactly. Now let's talk about handling sensitive information. How would you ensure confidentiality when dealing with personal or sensitive data? This is absolutely crucial for a court enforcement officer.
Oh, for sure. This role involves looking at all kinds of confidential records and information.
Yeah, so you need to demonstrate a strong understanding of data protection protocols and your commitment to maintaining privacy. You can highlight your knowledge of the relevant laws and regulations, maybe mention specific procedures that you followed in past roles to ensure data security.
It's all about showing them you're the kind of person they can trust with sensitive information. Okay, let's say they ask, can you explain the process of executing a warrant? Here they want to gauge your understanding of legal procedures.
So this is where you break it down in a way that's clear and concise. You might start by just explaining the different types of warrants and their specific purposes. Then walk them through the steps involved obtaining the warrant, verifying all of the information, identifying the individual or property, and then actually executing that warrant while always respecting the legal guidelines and ensuring safety.
Yeah, it's about demonstrating that the steps involved and that you can follow them meticulously every single time.
Exactly. Okay, so let's switch gears and talk about professional ethics. How would you handle a situation where you witnessed a colleague behaving unethically? Here, it's about showing that you are truly committed to integrity.
That's a tough one. This job definitely seems like it has the potential for ethical dilemmas to come up.
It does, and interviewers really want to know that you'll uphold those ethical standards even when things get challenging. So first you acknowledge just how serious ethical violations are, and then you can outline a clear course of action. Would you address it directly with your colleague? Would you report it to a supervisor? Explain your reasoning and emphasize the importance of maintaining public trust and upholding the integrity of the court system.
So it's about showing them you're not afraid to do the right thing, even when it's difficult.
Absolutely. All right, so now let's say they ask you, what are your salary expectations? This is one that always feels a bit tricky.
It does. You want to be realistic, but you also know your worth.
For sure. So before you even go to the interview, you should do some research on the typical salary range for this role in your area. Websites like Glassdoor or salary.com can be really helpful for that. Then during the interview, you can express your flexibility while also highlighting the skills and experience that you have to justify your expectations. You might say something like, based on my research and experience, I'm seeking a salary within the range of mention range. However, I'm open to discussing specific compensation based on the responsibilities and opportunities offered by this role.
That's a great way to approach it. Now, RoleCatcher's AI can also help you figure out those salary expectations.
It can. Their platform can actually analyze all the salary data for comparable roles in your location so you can get valuable insights to really inform your negotiations. It takes all the guesswork out of knowing what to ask for.
Nice. Okay, back to the interview questions. Let's imagine they ask, tell me about a time you had to adapt to a sudden change in plans. Court enforcement officers had to be pretty flexible, right?
Absolutely. Think of a time when maybe a project changed scope or a deadline suddenly shifted or you had to deal with an unexpected problem. Highlight your ability to adjust, prioritize, and keep your composure when you're under pressure. Did you communicate effectively? Did you have to seek out new resources? Show them that you can handle those curveballs with grace and efficiency.
Yeah, adaptability is definitely key. Now, they might ask, what are your long-term career goals? What they're really trying to see is how you picture your future within the field.
So this is your chance to connect your own aspirations with the role and really showcase your ambition. You might mention your interest in maybe specializing in a particular area of law or pursuing leadership opportunities or even contributing to policy development sometime down the line. Make sure you align your goals with the opportunities that are actually available within the court system so you can show them that you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, that really shows a commitment to growth and that you have a vision for your future. Now, let's talk about transferable skills. RoleCatcher highlights this if you're coming from a related field. They mention roles like court clerk, bailiffs, even private investigator. All those have skills that are useful for a court enforcement officer.
It's all about connecting the dots for the interviewer. Have you ever had to handle sensitive documents? Have you de-escalated a conflict before? Have you followed strict protocols in a previous role? These experiences can all be framed as transferable skills, and try to quantify your experience whenever possible. So you might say something like, for 3 years, I managed confidential client files. Or, during my time as a bailiff, I regularly de-escalated tense situations in the courtroom.
That makes those experiences directly relevant to the role.
Right. Okay, so let's wrap up this section with one more interview question. Why should we hire you for this role? This is your chance to make a lasting impression and summarize those key strengths that you have.
This is where you bring it all together.
Exactly. Reiterate your passion for the role. Highlight the skills and experiences that make you the ideal candidate. Mention specific achievements, quantifiable results, and those transferable skills that really set you apart. You can conclude by emphasizing your enthusiasm and commitment to making a positive contribution to the court system.
It's about leaving them with a clear picture of what you bring to the table.
Exactly. And throughout the interview, remember to maintain confident body language, make eye contact, and be genuinely enthusiastic.
Yeah, those nonverbal cues can make all the difference.
For sure. Now, as we move into the last part of our deep dive, let's focus on how you can leverage all of these insights we talked about and use RoleCatcher's AI to its fullest potential to really shine in that interview.
So it's all about being fully prepared and confident. All right, so we've covered so much ground here, from understanding what the role is all about to nailing those tough interview questions. Now let's talk strategy. How can someone use all of this knowledge, plus that power of RoleCatcher's AI, to really ace that interview?
I think it all comes down to preparation and making sure you're leveraging the right tools. Remember that RoleCatcher's platform is designed to give you a personalized edge. It can analyze those super dense job descriptions, and then it extracts the keywords and skills that the hiring managers are really looking for. It's like having an insider's guide to exactly what they want to hear.
It's like a cheat sheet for your career.
Exactly. And it's more than just understanding the role. It actually scores your CV against those specific requirements, highlighting where you might need to kind of strengthen how you're presenting yourself.
So you're not just guessing what they want, you're seeing it all laid out for you.
Yeah. And this is where it gets even more powerful. RoleCatcher actually gives you AI-powered feedback on your interview answers. So think of it like you're practicing with a virtual coach. You can actually record your responses to some of those common questions, and then you get very specific feedback on how well you're addressing the key points that the AI found.
It's like having a personalized rehearsal before the big day.
Exactly. And the more you practice and refine those answers, the more confident and prepared you'll feel when you're walking into that interview room.
Yeah, confidence is key. Now, beyond all the prep work, let's talk about some final interview tips. What are some things that people should keep in mind no matter what the interviewer asks?
I think first and foremost, you have to be authentic. Interviewers can spot a canned response from a mile away. Let your passion for the role shine through. Talk about what really excites you about the work, the impact that you hope to make, and the skills that you're bringing to the table.
It's about being genuine and really showing them who you are.
Yeah. Another important tip is to be ready to talk about your weaknesses. No one's perfect, and interviewers know that. They're really looking for self-awareness and a growth mindset. So choose a weakness that's real, but also something that you're working to improve. Frame it in a positive way and talk about what steps you're taking to turn it into a strength.
So you're showing them that you're not afraid to acknowledge those areas where you can grow.
Now let's talk about body language. It plays a huge role in how you come across to other people. Make sure you're making eye contact, you're sitting up straight, and you're projecting confidence. Even if you have all the right answers, nervous body language can totally undermine your message.
It's like a whole other language, isn't it?
It really is. And finally, don't forget to ask thoughtful questions at the end of the interview. It shows that you're engaged and that you're curious. So you could ask about the department's priorities or opportunities for professional development, or even just what the interviewer enjoys most about their job.
It's about gathering information and showing them you're thinking long term.
Right. So to wrap up this whole deep dive, remember that you're leaving here armed with a ton of knowledge about what a court enforcement officer does, strategies for tackling those tough interview questions, and the power of RoleCatcher's AI to help you stand out from everyone else.
But here's a final thought for everyone listening. This role is about more than just enforcing the law. It's also about understanding how your actions impact other people. As you're prepping for that interview, think about how you would uphold the law while also treating each individual with dignity and respect. It's a responsibility that requires both strength and compassion.
And remember that every interview is a learning experience, no matter how it turns out. Go in there prepared, be yourself, and most importantly, believe in your ability to succeed.
We're all cheering you on.